Welcome to the Business with Beers podcast. This is the place where we help entrepreneurs expand their business, build their wealth, and generate passive income. I'm your host, Brian Beers, an entrepreneur who's on a mission to inspire growth from everyone around me. Remember that you need to take the actions others won't, and you can live the life that others don't. Please be sure to check out my weekly newsletter that now drops every Thursday. It includes one quote, one tweet, one podcast recommendation, plus some business and investing insight from me. It's short and it's sweet. My goal is to provide you with just a couple gold nuggets to help inspire your growth. Go to brianbeers.com to subscribe. Hello, everyone. I'm excited today to bring you Dustin Ingle. Dustin spent over a decade as a leader in the Army. After retirement, he transitioned into sales, franchising, and is now the CEO and co-founder of Insulation Commandos, an emerging franchise brand. Welcome to the show, Dustin.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate having me on.
Yeah, so let's start with your background. Take us back, 2002. Start there.
Yeah, so right out of high school, I guess we can just go through my background. So right out of high school, graduated in 2002 and immediately went in the Army. Had no idea what I wanted to do in life, you know, like most 18-year-olds. And was kind of motivated by 9/11, you know, that kind of thing, that time. And so joined in 2002 and spent 10 years in the infantry. Spent about 5 of those years deployed overseas. And then the other 5, you know, training, that kind of thing. I was going to do 20 years. I mean, that was my goal. You know, my trajectory was to do 20 years in the Army. I loved it. My wife passed away in 2011. I just got home from Afghanistan. And with the job that I did in the military, you know, my options were to reclass into a non-combat related MOS job or get out, you know. And so I chose to get out. Kind of hit the reset button on my career in 2012. And, you know, I didn't really know, you know, had no college background or anything like that. So I kind of fell into the trades, got my contractor's license and started remodeling houses and kind of learned the ins and outs of everything from flooring, trim, doors, windows, roofing, siding. I mean, we did everything. I did that off and on for about 7 years. Did a couple years, a little stint with AT&T retail as a store manager and then a district manager. And I actually met a good buddy of mine who's been on your podcast, Aaron Harper. Met him there at AT&T, and he's the one that kind of pulled me into the franchise space. Yeah, you know, I had a right. Yeah, so he worked with me at one of the stores in Tennessee, and we became close. You know, we're both go-getters, and you know, the sky's the limits. And, you know, so he left to get into franchise development and kind of pulled me into it, from AT&T. And so about 3.5 years ago, almost 4 years ago, was when he pulled me in. He was working with a brand, ChemDry, with Belfour Franchise Group. And I kind of took over that brand. So that was my intro into the franchise space. You know, before that, it was just military and, you know, being a contractor.
Okay, awesome. What are some of the similarities you see between, I don't know, kind of the military and the kind of franchise world? I mean, both of them kind of have, you know, rules and processes, and like, what are some of the biggest, like, was it comfortable for you, or like, talk me through that?
Well, I mean, it's kind of two things. One, I mean, leadership, you know, so you learn leadership in the military. You learn how to work in a team, you know, how to motivate a team. Yep. So, you know, military make great leaders. And then on the other side of the coin, structure, you know, so systems and processes and checklists, a lot of checklists in the military. So that's going to shine with Insulation Commandos. You know, we've kind of injected some of that military structure into the franchise. Yep. Awesome. So you're at ChemDry with Belfour, which is one of the largest, you know, kind of franchise groups in heavily into the restoration space of, right, all different facets. So you're there, and then kind of walk you through, I guess, kind of your vision to say, hey, I want to go out there and do this on my own and lead a new company. Yeah, so I did franchise development for them. ChemDry was about 2.5 years. And then later the Patch Boys did development for the Patch Boys. And, you know, development is kind of one of those words. It's sales. You're selling the franchise, right? So as a franchise development person, your job is to sell the franchise, right? So once they sign the franchise agreement and they pay you the money, your job's done. You move on to the next lead, right? So that was my hang up is, I'm more of a relationship guy. I'm not transactional. So it was hard for me to kind of disconnect from those people that I built relationships with, after they, once they sign the franchise agreement and move on into training and that kind of thing. So that's what kind of sparked my interest. Like, man, I want to be on the other side of this. I like selling the franchise to them, but I want to help them launch their business and grow their business, So that's where there was a little bit of a conflict in career path for me.
Okay. So you decide, hey, I want to do this on my own. Were you specifically looking at insulation, or was it kind of more of a broad, catch-all, and you were trying to find something that meets certain criteria?
Yeah. So, I was looking for something that had good economics, something in the home service space, what we call boring businesses. Funny thing though, is one of my really good buddies, Todd Morelli, who I've known for 20 years. We were in the Army together. We invaded Iraq together in 2003. I invited him up to IFA in Manhattan. It's about 2 years ago. And he was getting out of the military. He was a lieutenant colonel, professor, teaching up at West Point. And he was transitioning out of the Army. And he was looking for, he wanted to get into the home service space, but didn't know where to start. So I invited him up to IFA when that conference was going on, and just kind of got his feet wet in there and meeting some of these home service franchises. And that's what kind of sparked what we ended up doing was, so we partnered up. He moved back to Los Angeles where he grew up. And there's another gentleman named Mike Malloy who he owned an insulation company in LA with a couple trucks. And then he also owns a HVAC company that does about $12 million a year there in LA. And then he also owns a solar business. So that was kind of his little portfolio of businesses, all in the home service sector. We call it the home performance industry, where you've got, everything's built on the performance of the home. So Todd moved back to LA, and we ended up acquiring the installation business. We partnered up with Mike, and we started working towards franchising it, about a year and a half ago. And then we franchised it in August officially this year.
Okay. So is Mike the original guy? Is he still involved in the business?
Yeah. So he's a partner. He's our chief sales officer. He's really good at building a big outside sales team. So he still runs the HVAC business and the solar business, which go hand in hand. And then he's involved in the day-to-day of our flagship location in LA.
Gotcha. Okay. And then you just started franchising as of August of this year, 2023. Is that
correct?
That's correct. Okay. Awesome. So walk us through then the kind of the installation business model. Yeah.
So it's a simple business model. And, that's what we were looking for, was something that's easily scalable. It doesn't take a lot of experience to get up and running. Installation, you can teach someone in a 3-day class how to do everything we do. It's not terribly technical. There's some codes involved, but I'll give you an idea of like a one truck operation, a franchisee. They're going to have a 16-foot box truck, 2 to 3 guys on that truck, preferably 3 guys. And one of those is kind of the leader of the truck. We call him a crew chief. And then you've got the franchisee who's doing the sales and the back end office, managing the business. And then you've got that crew out doing the work. So that's kind of the initial setup with one truck. And then you can kind of scale into hiring salespeople and office staff as you add 2 and 3 trucks. So the blueprint's to get them to 3 trucks as quick as possible, because nobody wants to buy a job, right?
Yep. Awesome. And so then let's talk about, I guess, there's a ton of installation companies out there, a ton of franchises, right? So like what are some of the ways that you're setting this up to be different, to be better, to attract either a different customer or better mousetrap? Like what's kind of the competitive advantage that you see in this?
So for the consumer side, because I think there's 2 parts to that. And our branding is top notch. We have, in my opinion, a little biased, but we have, I think we have the coolest looking box trucks you can get. I don't know if you've seen our trucks, but Dan Antonelli, he's our chief creative officer. He's also the president, founder of a company called Kick Charge Creative, based out of New Jersey. He's designed logos and branding for some big companies. I don't know if you've ever heard of Tommy Mello, A1 Garage. He did his branding, all his creative. Gettle Heating and Air, which is a huge HVAC company. So Dan's been in the branding space for 40 years. And so we partnered up with him for Installation Commandos. And, so he's responsible for these shirts, our trucks, all of our branding, all of our creative. So that's one big differentiator just right out the gate is just the aesthetics of the brand. It's a big deal.
Yep. No, it looks sharp.
So also on the consumer side, there's a lot of other installation companies out there. We're very strategic in how we approach a job. So a lot of guys will just come in and put insulation in and collect a check and move on to the next job. So we do a little more planning. We do a lot of attic air sealing. That's a big miss a lot of times is, you put new insulation in the attic, but you still have the same air escaping from the cracks, so we do, so we do a lot of attic air sealing. We do
just what do you caulk it?
Caulking, we do some injection foam, that kind of stuff, just sealing off everything in the attic. Yep. And we use what's called a blower door, and it's a big door that you hook up on the customer's home, and you can kind of find those air leaks by using that blower door.
Yeah, so walk me through that. We talked earlier, and you had told me about that as part of your sales process, right? Because a lot of people maybe don't know they need insulation. Maybe they hear that, it's going to save me, whatever, I don't know, some percentage on my electric bill, my heating bill, right? And then they look at what it costs. It's a couple $1,000s, and it's kind of this question, do I really need it? And so you told me before, kind of part of your sales process is to use this door. So can you take a second, describe the door, describe the whole process, and what that experience is like, from a customer standpoint? Yeah, so
it's a big plastic door that you seal up on the customer's exterior door. So you're
the front door.
So you're pretty much creating an airtight seal on the front door, and then you're able to push air into the house and watch a meter, and you can kind of identify how pressurized the house is. And
there's it's totally sealed. It gets more, the pressure goes up, right?
Yes.
There's no leaks. And if there's a huge gaping, the window's open or whatever, but if there's a huge gaping, there's no pressure because it's all
and there's an ideal, I don't have the number off the top of my head, but there's an ideal range where you want to be at. And that's a big part of the sales process.
So then you charge up this, you pressurize the home, and then you can kind of show the customer hey, you got a ton of leaks. And then I guess you have a process to go and then find it's an attic leak or it's just poor insulation, right? Or whatever it is. Yeah,
usually it's in the attic. Heat rises. Usually the leaks are in the attic. So that's where we ultimately want to get is in the homeowner's attic.
Do your competitors do that?
There's some competitors that do that. I would say the vast majority of our competitors in the franchise space do mostly new construction, where this isn't even a factor. Right. So our niche is retrofit. So we target those homes that are 15, 20, 25-year-old homes, where their installations is degraded.
Yep. Yeah. And that's my house built in 1988. I go up, I can tell it's weak up there. And so, it's probably right there in the target. Yeah.
We spend a good hour and a half in the home. We use a thermal camera as well. There's different things we can do to kind of identify the weaknesses in the home. A lot of our customers are referrals from HVAC contractors, so that's, people don't understand how insulation works or air sealing works until they have a new unit put in their house. You drop $20,000, $25,000 on a new unit, and then a month later you're calling your HVAC guy hey, this thing's not cooling, man, it's not working. And he's like, you need new insulation, you need to seal your house off. I don't do that. I can refer you to an insulation contractor.
Got it. Okay. That's why your LA guy started the HVAC company or whatever. They kind of go hand in hand, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it works good with HVAC.
So we're going differentiators. So you've got your this sounds like a more thorough process, at least, or there's just checklist sealing the home, like not just spray and pray or whatever, but we're also sealing and making sure it's good. The customers maybe a little bit better sales process. It's more show and tell. What else, I guess, from the consumer side, and then we can kind of maybe get into the kind of the franchise side of why they would consider you over some of the other brands.
Yeah, like I said, we're more thorough, I would say, from my experience. We try to use some of that military planning process when we're doing the estimates and the jobs. So there's a lot. You spend 90% of your time prepping, for the job, and then 10% is actually the execution. Right. So that's just something that we learned in the military. So we try to inject that into the business. Like I said, a lot of retrofit. Mostly fiberglass blow-in installation is what we do. We do cellulose blow-in installation as well. We do bat installation. And we do a lot of rock wool as well, which is a pretty interesting product.
Okay. What about spray foam? I know spray foam is pretty popular these days.
That's a good one. That could be a whole nother podcast. We could go into the the spray foam piece of it. So we don't market spray foam. We don't necessarily do much of it. We do some small spray foam jobs, but for the most part, we kind of stay away from it, to be honest with you. We're not really bought into it. We don't see the value add in offering it. There's pros and cons to it, which we could get into, but we don't really do a lot of spray foam. It's just not something that we usually will steer the customer away from it just by educating them on the product.
On some other products.
Yeah.
Okay. And so when I guess your sales guys are talking to customers, are they kind of going over these different products and rock wool, spray foam, blow in? I mean, not cellulose. I don't know the difference. All these, is that part of the process to educate from a pricing and then a quality standpoint?
Yeah, for sure. Those little display cases that you put your baseballs in, like if you have an autographed baseball.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, those little glass cases. So we keep those. We have a little salesman bag. And they have a bunch of those in the bag, and you've got like samples of fiberglass, cellulose, rock wool, all different types. It's tap insulation, which is a pest resistant insulation. And then we show the customer, we let them touch it, feel it. We explain the, differences in each one. But ultimately fiberglass is kind of our go-to. It's our most profitable, revenue stream is fiberglass margin wise.
Yep. Awesome. Talk to me a little bit about the sales process, right? How you go about generating leads for franchisees and yourself. I think that is, obviously one of the biggest responsibilities for a lot of franchises like this is the lead gen side of it. So how do you guys walk me through that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we have a director of marketing. His name's Jeremiah Ballou. And what's cool is he actually is responsible for the marketing of our flagship location from its inception. He's done the marketing for it since it started. But the HVAC business that Mike Malloy also has in LA, Jeremiah started that business with Mike and did the marketing. They went from 0 to 12 million in about 4.5 years. Okay. with the HVAC business. So Jeremiah knows this space with the home performance industry. He knows how to market HVAC, solar, installation. He's been doing that, sharp guy. He's got a marketing degree from Duke. Great guy. So he's our in-house marketing guy, guru. We work with a marketing agency out of New Jersey called One SEO. And they just won a big national award, for I don't know the lingo of that industry, but it's like the biggest award you can get in the search space, Google search.
Okay.
So they're a big marketing agency, and all they do is mainly home services. So they do all of our SEO, website development, Google ads, all that kind of stuff. They manage that. So that's their piece of it. And then we also work with a small marketing agency out of Virginia called Tiny Bull, and they do social media for us. So that's kind of the two things we outsource. And then other than that, I mean, there's no secret sauce to it. We do a lot of bulk lead buy with Angie, Thumbtack, There's a couple other ones that are a little newer that I'll kind of keep under the belt that are producing for us. But yeah, we do a lot of bulk lead buy starting out while the SEO kicks in.
Okay. Awesome. And then I know that another part of it is referral based. So how do you go about, I guess, teaching people how do we build referrals? How do you go out and drum up business? Because I would imagine like there's an expectation that some of the leads come from the marketing, and then some of the leads they're responsible to go out and earn them. So to talk about maybe that and the training and the support around that process.
Yeah, that's good. So something I didn't mention was, on the local side was mail outs, door hangers, flyers. We do a lot of that strategically. We use Service Titan, which is our CRM. Yep. And I don't know if you know Service Titan, but there's a heat map. You can actually see where your revenue's at on the map, what zip codes, what neighborhoods. So we retarget those areas with flyers and door hangers, that kind of thing. We drum up a lot of business with that. We do a lot of magazine ads, but that's all stuff that we're helping the franchisee with. They're out, networking with HVAC contractors. That's our primary referral, is from HVAC contractors. They need to be going to B&I, all those little local networking events where they can meet HVAC contractors, plumbers, drywall contractors are great, builders, developers. Just networking and building relationships is big.
Yep. Awesome. So yeah, I mean, that leads to kind of the next question of talk about your ideal candidate. Like who is the ideal person to be running this type of business? I'd imagine, you're looking to attract veterans, being that, with the branding and the background and some of the checklist driven things, but walk through kind of the qualities, the core values, like, of somebody who you think will thrive in this business. Yeah.
So I would say the big one is obviously work ethic, right? They need to be willing to work in the business a little bit when they launch it, but visionaries, we have a big vision for Installation Commandos, and it's a partnership. So we want our franchisees to also have a big vision, so Installation Commandos is just the beginning. There's some other things that we want to do to build this thing up with the HVAC company, with the solar business. So, we want partners that are going to come in and build a big portfolio business, so that's for us, just ambition, energy, vision, it's just characteristics, right? And then also, like our core values. So we have core values. Our brand president, Brock Adams, who I've known for about 10 years, he's a systems guy, and he brought in his core values from another company that he worked with. It's called Knight. So when we're interviewing franchisee candidates, do they align with our core values? So Knight is, it's KNIGHT, Knight, knowledgeable. I will learn as much as I can. The N is never say no. I will find a way to help. Someone that's helpful. Innovative. The I is innovative. I will think outside the box. Gracious, be friendly and courteous. That's how we treat our customers. And then the H is hero. I will save the day. And then the T is team player. So be a resource to someone. So those are kind of our core values. So we look at that when we're, vetting candidates.
What do you think the balance is between thinking outside the box and also playing within the box that you've kind of created? Like, every franchise is different, right? And the kind of the spectrum of control that they kind of impose, or like, the degree of, innovation that they want. McDonald's, for example, like the Big Mac, the Filet-O-Fish, like some of these the best selling things came from franchisees. Right?
It's true. Yeah.
There's this kind of combination there. So what's your take on that? And how do you kind of plan on allowing that?
Yeah. So we are not going to micromanage franchisees. We're going to give them the playbook, but it's an evolving playbook. It's going to change, every year. So, we're not going to come in and tell them exactly how they have to run their business. So it's kind of an open-ended playbook, so we don't know everything. We would like that the franchisees that we bring into the network actually bring value to us, and teach us. So that's important to us. So yeah, I mean, being innovative. I mean, that's what we're looking for. Guys who can come in and say, "Hey, Dustin, this is great, but I did it this way at X company, and we got X result." So let's bring that in and grow the business together.
Yep, and that's probably an important part for anybody that becomes a franchise partner is they got to want to work shoulder to shoulder with the founders. A little bit more of this like startup vibe where the things are changing, things are moving, and you can really make a difference. And I think that's like a key part of it, because other franchise brands that are really established, they're going to be a lot, A, you're not going to work directly with the founders, and B, it's going to be a totally different atmosphere. And some people really want that, other people really want that kind of personal relationship. So I think it's probably important for anybody with you that they really kind of want to be in that more dynamic environment. Yeah,
it's a collaboration amongst it with everybody. So
yep.
It's crazy how many brands there are. It's crazy how many brands there are out there where the founder, the guy who created, our gal that created that business, they're not even around anymore. So how are they teaching franchisees how to do that?
Yeah. I mean, many of them just try to build it up and sell it to private equity and move on to the next thing. And that's their goal, and maybe I'm sure it works out well for them personally.
Yeah.
But so what's your goal and vision, and in 5 years from now, what would make this a huge success?
Yeah. So our goal is to get the first 10, very short term, is to get the first 10 franchisees up and running and profitable. And the profitable piece is super important to us, so it's not transactional. We want to launch them, and then we want to help them become profitable. So we've got a lot of tools to help them do that. A lot of support. That's kind of step one. Bigger picture. We want to build some other franchises under a portfolio in the home performance space. So like I was telling you before, HVAC goes great.
Yeah, so HVAC.
Yep. Yeah, that whole space, they go great together. Cross marketable. A lot of our installers have backgrounds in being a technician in HVAC too. So it's just a good hand in hand business. But yeah, big picture, we want to do an HVAC franchise and probably a solar franchise too. I think that would crush it. There's not a big player that I know of.
Correct. Yeah, no, I get that asked all the time. Do you know any solar ones? And I know there's some that have it as, there's roofing franchises that have solar as a line.
Yeah.
But it's nobody's bread and butter focus at this point, at least.
It's a no-brainer in California. California solar does great, but I believe any home built after 2019 in California has to have it. So that's not a nationwide thing. So we're still dabbling in it, seeing how it will do.
Yep. And I'd imagine, I guess the builder probably contracts it, right? But then they're contracting somebody to do it.
Right.
Interesting. So what are some of the ways you mentioned, 10 profitable franchisees, is kind of the first big milestone. So what are some of the ways that you're going to help in ensure franchisees are profitable?
Sales, so they have to convert leads. Right. So it's crazy how many,
a lot of things.
It does, you get fixated on the bottom line and, all these little nuances. It's drive sales, get the lead, convert the lead, upsell, just so our brand president, Brock Adams, that's his superpower is sales training and coaching. That's his passion in life. He's, if he was on this podcast, you'd see trophies all behind him of awards he's won in sales coaching and training. He's a beast. So we've got some proactive sales training for the franchisees and their sales team. So that's a big part of it, driving sales. That, like you said, it cures most problems,
weekly,
right?
What does that look like, that sales training?
Most of it's a lot of role plays, Brian. A lot of uncomfortable role plays with the sales team. Getting in there and role playing, and learning how to overcome the rebuttals. So we can do those virtually. A lot of that's virtual. When they come out to Los Angeles for the hands-on portion of training, we're going to go out with the sales team and sell jobs. They're going to see it, see what right looks like. But yeah, just a lot of, as we grow, it'll be, like a monthly sales training that's done virtually, a lot of role plays.
Yep. Awesome. Yeah. I mean, that's the way to get people, the train the best is role playing. It's uncomfortable. Nobody wants to do it. Nobody raises their hand, but like by the end of the thing, you get them through it, and then
it works.
Normally, you can see the behavior change.
Yeah,
right?
and
if you just speak at somebody, it doesn't work, right?
Right. Yeah, and we also partnered with ProNexus, which is a call center based out of Utah. Scott Abbott, 5-star franchising. He's a big part of that. Great guy. Yep. So we're using ProNexus as a call center. So, lead comes in, speed to lead's 1 minute for us. So we're calling that lead within 1 minute. So that's important for us. We had a partner over at Angie that was able to send us a spreadsheet to tell us, how long did it take for a contractor to call the homeowner? So the homeowner fills out the form on the website, how many minutes before the contractor called them. And most cities, it was 350 minutes on average before the contractor called the customer, so that's the competition.
300 minutes?
300 minutes from the time they filled the form out until someone called them. Yeah. So the huge gap there, and then they, a lot of them, you talk to a lot of contractors, they complain about the Angie leads, like they're not good leads. It's like, well, you didn't call them for 24 hours. They already hired somebody else and blocked your number. So the call center is a big part of converting. We want a high conversion rate. So the call center is big. Driving sales training, hiring good salespeople that are money motivated. Is big. And then on the operations back end side, Brian, we partnered with a company out of Nashville that does bookkeeping. And all they do is work with home service businesses. So they know the economics of home service businesses. So the franchisee is getting 6 months of accounting, bookkeeping, P&L training, all that kind of stuff. They're getting payroll services and HR services, like all that's built into the startup cost for the first 6 months.
Yep. Awesome. Yeah, that's strong. What's it cost to buy a territory? How big are the territories and how much do they cost?
Territories are $300,000 to $400,000. The first territory is $45,000. So we have a $45,000 franchise fee for the first territory.
Yep.
Expansions are $35,000. So also $300,000 to $400,000 people. So 800,000 population will get you 2 territories, $80,000.
Okay. And then they got other startup. What are the other what's it? So 2 territories. So someone's 200 is like a good number, right? 800,000. That's a good size. What's that? What are the trucks? Startup costs? Like what's the rest of it look like?
So about $170,000. They're up and running. 2 territories is $80,000. And then they have a $75,000 startup package that they buy from us. And that startup package has everything they need except for the truck itself. So, the flashy wrap printed, installed, our uniforms, marketing collateral, 3 months of all their local marketing is covered in the startup cost. The 6 months of accounting, bookkeeping, HR, payroll, all that's built into it. The training, all the equipment they're going to need. All the way down to tape measure. We've got everything they need, thermal cameras. We also do duct cleaning, so we've got a duct cleaning package built into that too. So, the whole package is $75,000. And then they just have to purchase a truck.
Buy a truck.
Yeah. And we've got a fleet program with Isuzu on that. So they can finance it or they can get a lease with Isuzu.
Yep. Awesome. And how do you go about figuring out earnings potential being a new franchise?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it's a new brand, so we don't have an item 19, right? So that's a tough one. There's comparables out there. There's some other franchises out there that have some item 19s you can look at for comparison. There's also a website called HomeWise. I don't know if you've heard of HomeWise. Okay. With your painting business, you might want to check it out. It's WYSE, HomeWise. But you can go on that website and you can click on any home service industry. You could go to painting, you could look at installation. And when you get in there, you can put in your zip code and it'll show you the low end and the high end of what that job should cost a homeowner in that zip code. So that's a good tool to get an idea of your market and kind of what the average ticket looks like.
Gotcha. Okay. And then, do you think you'll have it next year, the item 19?
Oh yeah, we'll have a really nice looking. It's ready to go. We're going to try to file as early as January if we can, and get that thing added in there. But yeah, It looks great.
And that'll be for the corporate location. The corporate location in LA.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. How big's that? I know that they're obviously independent, not franchise. How big's their territory though, roughly?
So they service a big chunk of LA County. And a little bit of Ventura County. So the office is in Van Nuys, California, which is, the northern part of LA.
Okay. Awesome. Cool. That's all I had. Any questions for me or kind of closing comments?
No, man. Appreciate you letting me come on, and look forward to coming back on in a year and talking about the success we've had.
Yep. Yeah, I'm excited to see you guys grow. I think you got a good model and tons of support, and sounds like a really good team. And so, if anybody's interested in learning more, you can shoot me a message, and we can get you connected with Dustin's team, and provide you a whole bunch of resources to help you kind of make a good decision. So you can check out their website, Installation Commandos, and go from there. So thanks again, Dustin, and we'll be chatting.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Happy Veterans Day.
Yeah, thanks.
That's all we got for this episode with the Business with Beers podcast. One thing that would really help both us and other new potential listeners is to rate the show and leave a comment in iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you listen. Also, make sure to link up with me on your preferred social media platforms, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can find all my links at brianbeers.com. Please just share the podcast with anyone who you think might enjoy it. And until next time, remember to take the actions others won't, to live the life that others don't.